Are you responsible for selling a probate property? In this video, we will cover FAQs about selling a probate property. We will also address common questions asked about selling a probate property. Unless the property is in a living trust or is deeded as a transfer on death, it is in probate. How is selling a probate property different from selling a non-probate property? Probate is a court-supervised process during which someone is granted legal permission to settle a deceased person's debts and distribute their assets. Debts and assets comprise a deceased person's estate. Probate courts impose certain requirements that govern the settling of estates, and these must be fulfilled following court-set timelines. Requirements and deadlines vary from state to state. Selling probate property requires compliance with court-set requirements and schedules. Selling a non-probate property is easier because the court is not involved and there are no timelines or court-imposed requirements to deal with. Important terms. The probate process has its own vocabulary. It is helpful to get familiar with the following terms. Will, the court-recognized document in which a person says what should happen to his or her possessions and assets. Trust, an instrument in which one person, the trustee, holds property belonging to another person, the settlor, for an heir or beneficiary. Custodian of the will, the person who has the will when the writer of the will dies. Decedent, a person who has died. Beneficiary, a person who inherits the assets of a descendant. Executor, a person appointed by a probate court and usually named in a descendant's will to handle the affairs of the descendant's estate and sell real property. Probate, the legal process overseen by a probate court in which a descendant's assets are fairly distributed and debts settled. Testate, when a person dies and has left a will. Intestate succession, when a person dies without leaving a will. Intestate succession is the order of people who inherit the descendant's property. Probate court establishes this order. Probate referee, a person who appraises a property being sold through probate. Usually the estate pays for this service and payment is calculated as a percentage of the property's appraised value. What happens when a house goes into probate? What happens to a house in probate depends on whether or not the descendant left a will. Three possible scenarios are as follows. The descendant left a will, named an executor in the will, and stated that the property would go to their family. This scenario is testate probate. The executor must be granted legal authority by the probate court to sell the property and distribute the proceeds to the heirs named in the will. Number two, the descendant did not leave a will and no heirs or beneficiaries were named. This scenario is intestate probate. If the house was not placed in a living trust or deeded as a transfer on death deed, the probate court judge names an immediate family member as the estate executor. The executor must follow the probate court's timeline for disposing of the house while complying with probate requirements. Number three, the descendant left a will but did not name any beneficiaries. The court-affirmed executor is responsible for selling the deceased home and must comply with the court's decisions regarding distributions of the proceeds. Do I need professional help selling a house in probate? The purpose of probate is to make sure a deceased person's assets are distributed fairly and debts are settled properly. The court wants to make sure that no fraud occurs and to that end institutes stringent requirements, deadlines, and hearings. Get knowledgeable professionals on your team, including an experienced probate attorney and possibly a real estate agent who understands local probate rules and deadlines. The attorney represents you before the probate judge and handles documents and court petitions. An excellent realtor is sensitive to the realities of dealing with a loved one's home and possessions. He or she manages the process of getting the house ready for sale, setting a smart price, marketing effectively, negotiating offers, and pulling paperwork together for a successful close. How does a realtor sell a probate property? Realtors experienced in probate and trust sales help determine the list price for probate properties. They market properties in various ways to try to get the highest offer. Probate courts stipulate that accepted offers must fall above a certain percentage, usually 90% of the appraised value. About overbids. An accepted offer does not guarantee a deal. The offer must be disclosed to all beneficiaries who have a set number of days, usually 15, to look over the offer and register objections. If there are no objections, the sale can go forward. If there are objections, a court confirmation hearing is scheduled to allow other parties to submit higher bids. Precise formulas are in place for what constitutes acceptable overbids. Once an overbid is accepted, escrow opens and closes 30 to 45 days after the hearing. Can you live in a house during probate? Yes, usually. Check your state laws to be sure. In most states, it is legal to live in a house while it is in probate. It can be a good idea as the house may be difficult to insure if it is vacant. Important insurance coverages can be revoked if a house sits empty for more than 60 days. Living in a probate home can ensure the home is kept up well until the sale. Tasks such as maintaining lawn care, monitoring irrigation, keeping a pool clean, and making emergency repairs on broken pipes or malfunctioning HVAC units will save headaches and expense in the long run. Can you empty a house before probate is ended? Check with the probate court in the state where the house is located. Laws vary state by state on this question. There may be special requirements regarding notifying beneficiaries before the contents are removed. An executor may also be required to inventory house contents before possessions are taken out of the house. Can the executor sell a house that is in probate? Yes and no. The executor is the court-approved individual tasked with settling the deceased estate and authorized to sell a house that is in probate. However, the court may require the executor to notify heirs before putting the house on the market. Some stipulations may in place that keep the executor from acting on his or her own. What about taxes on probate property sales? The sale of a probate property incurs capital gains taxes just as the sale of an ordinary property does. Capital gains taxes are imposed on the amount of money that constitutes the difference between what a house was bought for and what it was sold for. If a house was purchased for $100,000 and sold for $150,000, capital gains tax must be paid on the $50,000 difference. If the house was owned for longer than 1 year, the seller is assessed a long-term capital gains tax at a rate that corresponds to his or her tax bracket. What about taxes on probate property sales? If the house was owned for less than 1 year, the seller is assessed a short-term capital gains tax, and the difference between the bought and sold price is taxed as regular income. In a market where housing prices are increasing, the general advice is to sell a probate property as soon as possible. Any increase in value while the home is in probate will be taxed, meaning less money to distribute among beneficiaries. Selling a home with a realtor. The traditional way to sell a house usually involves a realtor. Realtors are a valuable professional to have on one's team as they understand the real estate market and are motivated to get houses sold. They recommend repairs and improvements that will give a home the best chance of selling quickly. They arrange showings, handle negotiations, deal with paperwork, and generally oversee the sales process from beginning to end. Selling a home with a realtor. With a realtor handling the selling process, expect the following. Pay the realtor a 5 to 7 commission on the sale price of the house. Pay for and make repairs and improvements to ready the property for sale. Keep the house clean for showings at all times. Have potential buyers visiting the house. Deal with offers and make counteroffers. Entertain offers with contingencies, buyers who must sell their homes before they can buy yours. Wait for results of buyers' home inspections and possibly make additional repairs. Endure an indefinite sale timeline as some contracts may fall through. Does all of this sound overwhelming? That's probably because it is very overwhelming. Selling an inherited property can be a painful and emotional experience, especially when layered with grief over the loss of loved ones. Taking the traditional route to a home sale, selling through a realtor, can feel overwhelming. That's why many heirs decide to shortcut the process and sell the inherited home directly to an investor. I just want to get rid of the house. Is there an easier way to sell it? Selling a home to an investor. Advantages of an investor sale. Often, the executor and heirs of a deceased person's estate desire an expedited sale of the home. The house may be in a different part of the country from where they live, and managing a long-distance sale is difficult. They may be dealing with grief over the loss of their loved one and find it tough to prolong the home sale process. There is a faster and easier way to get rid of a property: sell to an investor. While this option is not for everyone, it is the best route to a quick and hassle-free sale. Selling a home to an investor eliminates the complexity of the traditional realtor-managed sale process. If you choose to sell to an investor, expect to pay no realtor fees, a savings of 5 to 7% of the home's sale price, pay no closing costs, a savings of 2% of the home sales price, make no repairs or improvements since investors buy houses as is, not have to deal with showings, receive a cash offer with no appraisal required, close in as few as 7 days. Many people find that selling to an investor eliminates the need to do any repairs or improvements to the property, reduces negotiating offers, and waiting for a deal to finalize. And most importantly, with an experienced investor, you can sell the property quickly in its as-is condition. Houston Capital Home Buyers is a local house buying investment company based in Sugar Land, Texas. But believe it or not, we actually help with estate properties across the country, so virtually in any state and any market within the U.S. And yes, we buy houses as is and work a lot with individuals that are in charge of handling an estate sale. When I say we buy houses as is, this means no repairs or improvements are necessary for selling the house. And we mean that. No repairs are necessary. And anything you don't want to keep, you can leave it. You don't even have to remove the contents if you don't want to. Our job is to make the selling process as stress-free as possible. A common question we are asked is, how long does it take to receive an offer from an investor? Well, after we are contacted by a seller, an executor, or an executrix, we typically provide written cash offers the same day or within 24 hours. Who is Houston Capital Home Buyers? We are a locally owned company. We are an accredited member of the Better Business Bureau. We have an A+ 5-star rating on the BBB and Google. We have been in business for over 13 years. We've purchased hundreds of homes over the years. We're a former law enforcement officer owned and operated company, and we pride ourselves on integrity, transparency, and helping others. If you would like to talk about selling your property quickly to a company like ours, here's what that process looks like. Contact us and describe your property and situation. Number 2, we'll visit your property to assess its value in order to make you the highest offer possible. We'll present a written offer within 24 hours and we'll be able to close quickly, typically 5 to 7 days. But we may not be the right fit for your situation. You see, our motto is that we can't buy every house, but we strive to help everyone that we can. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us and we will do our best to see if we can help you in your situation. Consider us a free resource that you can simply pick up the phone and call, and we'll do our best to answer any questions you may have and point you in the right direction. Wrapping it up. Selling a probate property is not a walk in the park. It can be complicated, time-consuming, and expensive. If you are the court-appointed estate executor, hire a competent probate attorney and experienced realtor to help you navigate through the probate landscape. An alternative to selling the probate property through a realtor is selling it to an investor. This can bypass much emotional strain and effort. An investor such as Houston Capital Home Buyers with experience purchasing probate properties can take the house as is and close in as few as 7 days. We hope this overview of handling estate property has been helpful to you.